What's going on, you guys? So I'm pretty pumped for this video today. We're checking out the European Conquest of America summary on a map. You know, we've learned here in America, at least we have our version of what's in our textbooks about the European conquest into America, but it's very light in the history on that. It's more of kind of what happened once the settlers were here and the formation of the USA. So I don't have an extensive like background or knowledge in kind of like the entire conquest over. So I'm excited to see this, especially coming from like a European channel. And yeah, hopefully it's enlightening and I get some new information that I can carry along with me, and pretty pumped for it. Without further ado, let's just dive in.
In the 15th century, these are approximately the known lands in Europe. To the east are the Indies.
Yo, it's kind of wild that like Greenland was a known piece of land that is actually really close to North America. I mean, it's just nuts that it took them that long to go down right over here. All right, let's keep going.
From where spices and silk come. In Europe, the trade of these luxury products is controlled by the powerful republics of Genoa and Venice. But in 1453, the Ottomans seize Constantinople and bring down the Byzantine Empire. By extending their influence over the Mediterranean, they put an end to the golden age of the Italian republics.
Rounding the Cape.
In the West, Portugal dreams of opening a new trade route to the Indies and seizing the monopoly on the spice trade. They take advantage of the development of the caravel, a more robust ship capable of handling the oceans to send explorations to Africa. In 1484, Christopher Columbus, a Genoese navigator living in Lisbon, proposes to the Portuguese king to try to reach Asia by sailing west. According to his calculations, Cathay and Cipango, currently China and Japan, are close enough for the crossing to be feasible. But
we're getting close. Almost 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue. This was like a song that we had to memorize when we were kids. Dude, how crazy. Christopher Columbus, and I don't want to get on the topic of the man, but like going across the ocean to think you're going to hit Asia, and you just land in like a Caribbean island, and you're like, what the hell? This is way different than we thought.
King rejects the project. Confident, Christopher Columbus tries his luck with the rival Queen of Castile, but in vain. 2 years later, while Portugal reaches the Cape of Good Hope, the Spanish monarchy completes the Reconquista by seizing Granada. Nothing seems to stop its ambitions. It must now catch up with Portugal in its race towards the Indies. The Queen of Castile and the King of Aragon authorize and finance the expedition of Christopher Columbus.
I wonder how much that cost in like comparable terms to today. Like if a country was like, we're going to send someone out and explore, like it couldn't have been that expensive for them to be like, yeah, go ahead. See if you can get over there from just going west.
August 3rd, 1492, Christopher Columbus leaves Palos with 3 ships and 90 men. After a short stopover in the Canary Islands, they head west and sail for 36 days into the unknown. The crew finally see an island. Columbus lands and meets with the local Taino people. Convinced he has reached the Indies, Christopher Columbus names them Indians. After a few exchanges, he leaves and explores the surrounding islands. Thinking he's in Asia, he looks for the kingdom of the Great Khan mentioned in the writings of Marco Polo. On an island called Quisqueya, which he renames La Hispaniola, he builds the Fort of the Nativity, leaves 39 men behind, and returns with 7 Tainos, gold, pearls, and parrots as proof of the success of his expedition.
They left, how many people did they leave behind? 39, did they say? How wild. You got to be like a crazy person. Just land on some unknown land. He's like, all right, we'll be back. I promise. So nuts.
Welcomed as a hero, he returns to the Nativity a few months later, this time with 1,500 men, to found a permanent colony of which he would be the governor. But he finds the 39 men left behind dead. He then founds La Isabela in honor of the Queen.
Maybe not so good. They ended up dead. A couple of months later, I mean, what were we talking, like a couple of months? I don't think he would have been able to get back, turn around, and go back when, what did they say the trip was, 39 days? I mean, maybe. I was probably closer to like 3 or 4 months. Wonder what happened to them, how they died in such a short time. Probably starvation, I would
of
imagine.
Castile and continues his explorations. During this time, the Spanish monarchy in Portugal, to avoid conflicts around the newly conquered territories, agreed to draw a meridian. The lands to the east can be claimed by Portugal, those to the west by the Spanish monarchy. England, in turn, begins to search for a new maritime route to India. An expedition is sent further north and reaches a land that is unknown to them. Vasco da Gama, for Portugal, crosses the Cape of Good Hope, enters the Indian Ocean, and reaches India on May 20th, 1498. A second Portuguese expedition leaves for India, but as it moves away from the coast to take advantage of the sea currents, the expedition reaches a new land located east of the meridian of Tordesillas. There, an exotic wood grows from which can be obtained a red dye like an ember, or brasa in Portuguese. This will later give the name of Brazil to their new colony.
Okay. Thought it was too far north for Argentina.
While the Spanish colonists discover products unknown in Europe, such as potatoes, tomatoes, tobacco, and cocoa, ships loaded with gold.
Wait a second. Europe didn't have tomatoes before they went to America? That's crazy. Whenever you think of tomatoes, like for me as an American, I always think of like pizza and Italy and pasta. That's so nuts.
Emeralds and pearls return to Spain, which motivates the departure of many colonists to the new Spanish lands. They bring with them domestic animals and seeds, but also diseases that were previously unknown to the indigenous populations, who are therefore not immune. These diseases spread throughout the continent faster than the colonists and decimate the populations. In 1506, after a fourth trip, Christopher Columbus dies. A few months later, the word America appears on a map in honor of the explorer Amerigo Vespucci. The continent would henceforth be called America. In the Spanish territories, colonists imposed forced labor on the local populations, but the Spanish monarchy, influenced by the Roman Catholic Church, opposes the mistreatment and tries via new laws to increase its control over the new territories and to improve the conditions of the natives. The Catholic Church also sends missionaries to evangelize the local populations. From the Spanish colonies, conquerors called conquistadors explore everywhere. To the north, they discover a land they name Florida. To the south, an expedition goes inland and discovers a sea on the other side. Finally, in 1518, an expedition goes north along the coast, passes a peninsula, and meets representatives sent by an emperor. The governor then decides to send a mission there.
I just gotta say, this is probably not going to be like a super highly watched video. I don't care. This is really interesting for me, and I'm probably going to go through the entire thing.
The conquistador Hernán Cortés leaves Cuba in 1519. On his way, he recovers a Spanish shipwrecked man who survived 8 years in Mayan country, and then he obtains a mistress after a confrontation. Both will assist him as interpreters. Once on dry land, he understands that he is in the Aztec Empire, whose capital, Tenochtitlan, controls the surrounding regions. Impressed by the firearms and horses they've never seen before, some of the people choose to join the Spanish crown. Cortés is guided to Tenochtitlan, where the emperor welcomes him peacefully. At the same time, to the south of the continent, Ferdinand Magellan, who's also trying to reach the Indies to the west, passes through a strait that will one day bear his name and enters a new ocean that is unknown to him. In Tenochtitlan, a war breaks out between the Aztecs.
I just gotta say, it's gotta be like, I'm just trying to put myself in the mindset of these people that were out exploring like this, and it's really hard to do. Like sitting on a boat, you hit some land, all of a sudden you're like, all right, there's another ocean, let's keep going. That's so nuts to me. I don't know.
Cortés, who had been chased out of the
also
capital,
really cool though.
He allies with the rebels and enemies of Tenochtitlan, then besieges the city and cuts off its drinking water supply. But the inhabitants suffer above all from smallpox, which decimates the city. After 75 days of siege, Tenochtitlan collapses and Cortés becomes the governor of New Spain. Despite strong resistance, the Spaniards continued to extend their control in Central America. Spain, which is indebted to German bankers, authorizes them in return to found a colony in an area where houses are built on stilts and which is then named Little Venice or Venezuela. To the south, an expedition goes inland, and rumors circulate about a certain Piru kingdom. The navigator Francisco Pizarro then leaves to search for it. He lands and learns that he's in the Inca Empire, which is in a full war of succession. After several contacts by intermediate embassies, a meeting is organized in Cajamarca with the Emperor Atahualpa.
Let me guess. They spread disease and kill everyone. It's like, I wonder if they hadn't figured it out yet, or if they were actually using it like as a weapon. Like, show up, get them all sick, kill everyone. I know that's a horrible way to think, but I wouldn't put it past any government.
Degenerates, and Pizarro arrests the emperor. 9 months later, in spite of the enormous gold and silver ransom received for his liberation, Pizarro executes Atahualpa and then seizes Cusco, the capital of the empire. While strong rivalries appear between the colonists who want to monopolize the Inca wealth, in the north of Tomebamba, a pocket of Inca resistance is organized around the general Rumanahui. But finding himself in a difficult situation, he decides to burn Quito and to hide all the Inca wealth. Captured and tortured, he does not reveal the location of this treasure, which, if it exists, has never been found. Further south, Pizarro founds a capital, the City of Kings, which later will become Lima. In 1536 in Cusco, the Incas rebel and take the city. Almagro, Pizarro's ally, who returns from unsuccessful conquests in the south, takes the city and proclaims himself governor of Cusco. A war breaks out between Pizarro and Almagro. Taking advantage of the chaos, the Incas found the kingdom of Vilcabamba, which will resist the Spaniards for 36 years. Further south, a group of populations called the Mapuches also firmly resist the Spanish intrusions. In the north, Spain continues to enlarge its territory considerably. The priest Bartolomé de las Casas denounces the cruel treatments imposed on the natives. Spain, in 1542, passes new...
See, this is what I was talking about before we started the video when I said, like, we don't really learn too much other than Christopher Columbus goes over to America. I don't remember exactly if it was, I don't think it was the Bahamas, whatever island it was that he landed on. We learned about that, and then basically we just learned about, like, Plymouth Rock and the settlers coming. I don't remember ever learning any of this in South America. So this is crazy.
Laws in order to return freedom to the slaves by abolishing the encomienda and by affirming equality of the rights of the natives. In Peru, these laws are very badly received by the colonists. The viceroy tries to make them apply, but a revolt breaks out and he is beheaded. Spain finally manages to regain control of the region and suspends the conquests in America, although many populations still resist Spanish colonization. In Europe, new powers are interested in the riches of America. France, which does not recognize the Treaty of Tordesillas, sends expeditions to Brazil. The colony of France Antarctique is founded there. Annoyed by the new competition, the Portuguese destroy the colony in 1560. They then develop colonization by sending expeditions deep inland in search of mines and slaves. England also has its eye on America. Irritated by the commercial monopoly that Spain is establishing in the Pacific Ocean, the Queen of England secretly finances an expedition by Francis Drake, who plunders Spanish wealth on the Pacific coast. Further north, Drake founds New Albion in the name of the English crown, before heading west to return to England. At the same time, the Spanish monarchy takes over Portugal. The United Provinces, quickly followed by England, take advantage of this and try to seize the trade routes and the Portuguese colonies.
We're only in 1590.
In South America, further inland, a region little explored by the Spaniards and the Portuguese attracts the covetous. For a century, the myth of El Dorado, the city filled with gold, has been widely circulated. This attracts hundreds of European settlers who devastate the region in search of gold, igniting the fury of local populations. This does not prevent the arrival of French, Dutch, and British Protestants who flee Europe in search of lands far from Catholic influences. To the north, the coasts of Newfoundland, rich in fish, are frequented by many fishermen from all over Europe. As early as 1603, France finances new expeditions to explore Acadia and to found a first settlement at Port Royal. Despite conflicts with the local populations, fishing and fur trading develop. Further south, England founds Jamestown, its first permanent colony. But while the French accelerate colonization with the creation of Quebec, the English attack Acadia. From then on, the two countries and their respective local allies are constantly fighting over the region.
New Netherland?
After founding New Amsterdam on an island, the Dutch negotiate with the locals to purchase Manhattan Island in exchange for some goods equivalent to 60 florins, which is currently worth about a few $100s. Also in the south, the Dutch expand their possessions and take over a large part of Brazil. But in 1640, Portugal regains its independence and recovers its territories. The Dutch are expelled and concentrate their efforts in the north of the continent by absorbing New Sweden. At the same time, the British take Jamaica from the Spaniards to develop.
What's up with the names? Everything is like the New England, the New Sweden. So funny. It's like, all right, we're not going to come up with any new names. We're just going to rename our favorite country cities and locations over here.
The sugar trade. They also obtained permission to exploit wood on the coast of New Spain. The growing commercial rivalry between the United Provinces and England provokes a war that turns to the advantage of the British. At the peace treaty, the United Provinces cede their North American territories and recover Suriname, which was occupied by the British. New Amsterdam becomes New York. In the West Indies, mainly the French and the British take over islands from the Caribs in order to develop large sugar plantations that require a large workforce. European merchants leave for the African coasts where they buy slaves. These are then transported to America to be sold in the mines or on the plantations. Their life expectancy is about 7 years. The ships then return to Europe loaded with precious metals and luxury goods. In the 17th century, this model becomes so profitable that the slave trade explodes, as does piracy, which flourishes in the Caribbean. Many people are opposed to slavery, notably the Jesuits, who found communities throughout America to protect the natives from the colonists. They are evangelized and work for the communities, which quickly become rich. But Spain and Portugal will eventually expel them. In the north of the continent, while the British found Philadelphia, the French, after an expedition, claim Louisiana and then expand along the rivers to link it to New France. New France then signs a peace agreement with 39 nations, mainly Iroquois. Fearing that they would be surrounded, the British attack Acadia again and rename it Nova Scotia. The latter, together with Rupert's Land and Newfoundland, are officially annexed in the treaties of Utrecht, which end the War of Spanish Succession. Spain and the United Provinces are weakened. Great Britain is now a great maritime and commercial power. In 1733, it founds Savannah, which stops the Spanish expansion from Florida. From Russia, a Danish captain named Vitus Bering leads mapping expeditions on behalf of the Tsar.
Yo, also, can we talk about the Russians who have literally been like a single day's boat ride away from an entire continent this whole time and had no idea? Or did they know? I always wondered that because I was like, once I finally saw a map of how close Alaska and Russia are, and you're like, y'all didn't think to like go down and check out all this land?
The strait that now bears his name. Bering sights in 1741 the coasts of Alaska and the Aleutian Islands, where he dies. The abundance of prey on these islands attracts many Russian hunters. The Russians gradually move along the coast to develop the otter fur trade.
Franco-British tensions.
In the Ohio Valley, tensions rise between the French and the British, who are fighting over control of the region. A war begins, which at first turns to the advantage of the French. Great Britain then decides to deport en masse the French-speaking Acadians still present in Nova Scotia. Many die on the way. The survivors are scattered throughout the British colonies. In Europe, the 7 Years' War breaks out. Great Britain, which dominates the seas with its powerful Royal Navy, imposes a maritime blockade on the French colonies, which, without reinforcements, fall into the hands of the British. In 1763,
Yeah, I think we're close to like the peak of the British Empire.
in the peace treaty signed in Paris, France gives up most of its American colonies. Spain receives the western part of Louisiana in exchange for Florida. Great Britain dominates all its rivals. But the war has weighed on its finances, and it intends now to take advantage of its many colonies to replenish its coffers by imposing new taxes.
Wow, that was really, really cool. Like, really interesting. Kind of seeing just how all of this unfolded. Like I said, I never got any of that South America stuff. So seeing how Europeans came over and actually went down there first and like covered as much ground as they did, I had no idea. So appreciate the recommendation, you guys. I'm gonna head out. I will see you in the next video. Peace.